This is a good one. Coming up, we got the story of three mischievous New Yorkers who disavowed their biggest hit. This breakthrough track became a legendary music video on MTV, but for all the wrong reasons. A rebellious party anthem that they actually wrote to make fun of party anthems, but it painted the trio as immature frat boys. But the thing is, like I said, it was all a big joke. It was a throwaway track. Their producer, however, loved it, and he pushed for its release. After that, things got out of hand really quick, with the song blowing up on both radio and MTV. And yeah, these guys were no angels, but when fans demanded that they live up to the song's ruckus lyrics, they turned their backs on this track. It even almost broke up the band. Still, fans couldn't get enough of it, and even today, it's one of their most popular songs. It's an all-out brawl for this band's identity and a fight you're not going to want to miss, coming up on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember monkeying with the rabbit ears on your TV set to get better reception, as well as the antenna on your radio, you're gonna dig what we're doing here. Make sure that you subscribe below right now. Click the bell so you always know when our latest interviews are dropping. The stories from the legends, keeping the music alive, really. We also have a Patreon that helps us keep it a daily channel. We have more content there. You can also become a honorary producer to help us curate this music history. Well, we're going to return to another one of my favorite shows that we do on this channel. We call it Breakthrough. This is the show where we break down songs, albums, or events that kicked open the door to an artist or band's career and gave them the momentum to rocket to long-term success. Today's episode, such a funny story. Today we're taking a deep dive into a band that we've never covered before, and the song that exposed them to a massive audience. Talking about the Beastie Boys with their party anthem hit, You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party. A very rare double parentheses song, I might add. You gotta fight for your right. All three members of the Beastie Boys came from a similar background. Adam Yauch, a.k.a. MCA, Mike Diamond, a.k.a. Mike D, and Adam Horovitz, a.k.a. King Adrock, or just Ad Rock. They all grew up in New York City in the 60s and the 70s. They all had parents involved with the creative arts. And they were all impacted by two rising genres at that moment, hip-hop and punk. New York punk bands, like their UK cousins, were determined to overthrow the status quo and included acts like, of course, the Ramones and New York Dolls, Television, Talking Heads, and Blondie. As punk bands competed to see who could play the fastest, the hardest, the loudest, the craziest, a new underground genre known as hardcore emerged from there, and this was the musical world that the Beastie Boys started to explore in the New York club scene. Adam Yauch, he met early Beastie Boys member John Barry at a punk club called Tier 3. A couple days later, Barry brought his bandmate Mike Diamond with him. At that time, John and Mike played in a band that was called, it was the Young Aborigines. Mike played drums, John played guitar, and Kate Schellenbach played percussion. The four of them bonded over their love of punk, and Yauch jumped in the mix and he manned the bass. In 1981, Yauch and Diamond saw hardcore band's Black Flag play a show, and they decided to throw together a hardcore band kind of as a joke. They called it Beastie Boys. There are actually a few different stories surrounding the origins of this band name, one of which says that Beastie was a ridiculous acronym that stands for Boys Entering Anarchistic States Toward Internal Excellence. Mike D actually doubled down on this claim on The Tonight Show, and he verified and said, yeah, it was a stupid name. He also explained to Rolling Stone that when hardcore started, people would come up with stupid names, and it was the stupidest name that we could come up with. Together, the foursome released a hardcore EP that was called Pollywog Stew. That happened in 1982. But as Adam Yauch and Mike Diamond prepared to head off to college, guitarist John Barry opted to leave the band. Now, to replace him, the remaining members recruited Adam Horovitz from another New York punk outfit. They were called The Young and the Useless. From there, the B-Boys planned to record a new album. However, with Yauch and Diamond both attending college, they only found enough time to record one single called Cookie Puss.
These cookies crumbs are making me itch. A cookie puss.
Now, the origins of this song came from a prank phone call to a Carvel ice cream company's toll-free phone number. The band recorded the conversation and they turned it into a single. The song became a cult hit. It was played across college radio stations in '83, which in turn led to a lot of show bookings, as well as catching the attention of NYU student one Rick Rubin. Of course, one of America's most prolific record producers, Rick Rubin has worked with an eclectic cross-genre roster of high-profile artists, including The Cult, LL Cool J, Slayer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Public Enemy, AC/DC, also Justin Timberlake, Tom Petty, the Dixie Chicks, Weezer, and Johnny Cash, just to name a few. Notably, in 1986, it was Rubin who produced the first major rap-rock fusion event when Run DMC and Aerosmith teamed up for a revitalized mix of Walk This Way. We covered that a few months back. If you want to see it, I'll link to it below. As the Beastie Boys started hanging out with Rick Rubin, they brought him on to MC their live shows. Under Rubin's influence, the group gradually shifted from punk rock to rap. However, Kate Schellenbach, who is a rocker, not a rapper, and didn't get along very well with Rubin, soon left the group, reducing the crew to the core trio of Yauk, Diamond, and Horowitz. And then he signed them to his newly established label, Def Jam Records. Following high-profile tours with Run DMC and Madonna, the Beastie Boys kicked off a decades-long run of innovative and commercially dominant LPs with License to Ill. This, of course, mixed rap with heavy rock riffs. This record, it was creative, it was really clever, and thoroughly irreverent. It's like nothing else out there. Tongue-in-cheek and more than a little controversial, the Beasties' debut was a smash hit. It went platinum less than 2 months after its November 1986 release. Licensed to Ill, it also became the first rap album to reach #1 on the Billboard 200. Internationally, the record also did well. It reached number 15 in the Netherlands, number 12 in New Zealand, number 7 in the UK, and it went to number 5 in Canada. Now, License to Ill featured what amounted to a sonic avalanche of groundbreaking singles. 2 of them broke through onto the US Hot 100, Brass Monkey and You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, today's song. Brass monkey, chunky, that funky monkey. You wake up late for school, man, you don't wanna go. 3 others climbed the US R&B hip-hop charts, which were Hold It Now, Hit It, The New Style, and Paul Revere. Hold it now.
You wanna know why? Because had a little horsey named Paul Revere. Just me and my horsey and a quart of beer.
2 more, No Sleep Till Brooklyn and Girls, made a respectable showing in the UK.
No sleep till Brooklyn! Girls! Hey, all I really want is girls!
As for today's featured track, You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, that was originally written by Adam Yauch and friend Tom Cushman. It was intended to be a track for a side band that they called Brooklyn, but they never recorded it. So Yauch offered it up to the B-Boys, though it was a little more than an afterthought.
You gotta fight for your right!
Rick Rubin, however, saw massive potential in the song, and he pushed it to the forefront of the album. Now, credited as a co-writer, he injected Fight for Your Right with its irrepressible rock sound. Adam, Ad Rock, he said this about it. In late 1985, early 86, we made the rough demo version for the song Fight for Your Right to Party. It sounded funny to us, but a couple weeks later, Rick played us a new version that, unbeknownst to us, he'd been working on this. All of a sudden, it sounded clean and full, like a song that a professional would have made.
Kick it!
Lyrically, I don't have to tell you that Fight for Your Right was, by their own admission, pandering to the LCD. The lowest common denominator. It's the ultimate frat, brat, youth rebellion anthem. It's crosshairs fixed on authority figures, reeling off a litany of adolescent complaints. Beastie Boys gripe about going to school, turning down the stereo, cutting their hair, and having to change their clothes. You know, in response to this parental oppression, they shout, "You got to fight for your right to party." And that's about as deep as it gets.
You gotta fight for your right!
Of course, none of it was meant to be taken seriously at all. As Adam MCA explained in the liner notes of the Beastie Boys anthology, the song was just a goof on dumb rock songs. SRoth likewise confirmed that Fight for Your Right is just a joke. The goal was, let's write a stupid frat song that'll be funny. So they wrote a song, you know, it made fun of dumb party rock songs or rebellious rock anthems, and the song, it became the poster boy for it. But the thing is, people loved it. I know I'm not the only one who as a kid used it as a mantra like it was my theme song. All my friends did the same thing. We just didn't get the joke at the time.
Hypocrite smokes 2 packs a day.
Now, as we continue to break down the song, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses that I always wear. Right now, you can get a pair of premium progressive lenses starting at just $52.95. Great deal. Experience comfort, quality, and value with this premier offering. All you do is click up here on our button and you'll get the best price. So with people loving this song, Rick Rubin commissioned a music video. It was co-directed by roommates Rick Bonello and Adam Dubin. The song was already blowing up at this point. MTV, of course, wanted to get in on the action. And they told Rubin that they would hold a spot for the video in heavy rotation for 2 weeks. This meant that Rubin had to get it recorded really fast. He gave the crew 2 days and a budget of just $20,000 to get it done. Now, according to SRoth, the Beastie Boys didn't even get a choice about whether they wanted to make a video or not. They just showed up and did what they were told, really.
You gotta fight!
The music video, of course, it played right into the track's 80s frat boy party theme, and it took its inspiration from a variety of comedic sources like the Three Stooges and Jerry Lewis, and the party scene in the 1961 film Breakfast at Tiffany's. The characters in this video never meant to be taken seriously. It was just slapstick. Co-director Adam Dubin, who had known the band for years, called the guys a bunch of knuckleheads, and he said, "They're the guys who come to the party, drink all your beer, steal your girls, wreck the place, and then they just leave." That was the image that he wanted to create in this video. The boys recruited their friends to play the party guests, and they decided to stage a pie-throwing food fight. MTV reporter Tabitha Soren, who appeared in the video, said that to save money, the crew actually grabbed expired whipped cream containers from a supermarket dumpster. After everyone was done throwing pies, I guess the smell in the room was just rancid. It smelled like rotten eggs. But they got the video done quickly and on the cheap. When MTV started playing it, people went berserk over it. Fight for Your Right became the most requested video on the network. Soon the Beasties were just superstars. Thing is, though, most of the fan base, like I said, completely missed the video's satire. And subsequently, the band would spend the rest of their career pushing back against the drunken frat boy image. Said SRoth, "We've had our become what you hate moment. We were making fun of a frat boy mentality, and suddenly we were the thing that we were making fun of." And just as the Beastie Boys didn't have a choice when it came to shooting this video, for Fight for Your Right, they didn't have a say about releasing the single either. Mike D is on record calling the song a throwaway track, never meant to be more than album filler. But Rick Rubin, who understood what hits were, he loved his commercial potential, and he made the executive decision to release this song. Like the video, the single completely blew up. It garnered heavy rotation on rock and pop station, crossed over everywhere.
I can't get out of my home if you don't cut that hair.
It ultimately peaked all the way to number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. It's huge. That happened on March 7th, 1987. Incidentally, also on the same day that License Deal claimed the #1 spot on the U.S. Albums chart. Became the first ever rap record to do so in the U.S. On the Cashbox chart, Fight for Your Right surged all the way to number 3. Internationally, it went to number 37 in Australia, number 25 in West Germany, number 17 in New Zealand, number 16 in Ireland, number 11 in the UK, number 10 in the Netherlands, and it went to number 7 in Canada. After Fight for Your Right took off, Mike D said the Beastie Boys went from being New York famous to becoming national MTV stars. Everything kicked into high gear from there, and to capitalize on their unexpected success, the Beastie Boys toured for 12 months straight. In the process, the trio embraced rock stardom, with all its trappings. But touring with Fight for Your Right also turned into a wake-up call of sorts. The excitement of being rock stars soon gave way to the realization that they were becoming caricatures of themselves all the time. According to the guys, the frat dudes who were buying their records couldn't tell the difference. It was a sobering revelation. To repeatedly reenact a role for a single you never wanted to release in the first place, it kind of sucked. Yeah, sure, the Beasties were far from choir boys, but after a while, they got sick of role-playing. You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, it was a track that could have easily defined the Beastie Boys. Could have been a one-hit wonder. But that was the last thing they wanted. So after 1987, the guys basically disowned the song, and they relegated it to novelty song status. According to Ad Rock, it would be years before they could go back and even listen to License Deal.
Your mom busted in and said, "What's that noise?"
Even in the band's 2018 retrospective Beastie Boys book, Ad Rock and Mike D make little mention of the song. Said Ad Rock about it, "We never performed You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party after 1987. Partly because it was a marker in time for when things went sour, but mainly because the song turned corny quick." Now, I did some digging after I read that quote. Actually checked Setlist.fm's concert archives to make some comparisons, and Ad Rock's statement more or less checks out. According to the site, the Beastie Boys reportedly performed Fight for Your Right 3 times in 1992, and then one final time on August 11th, 1994 at Lollapalooza, my birthday. That's kind of funny. After that, nothing. Decades of radio silence. Now, that being said, there is the 2011 short film Fight for Your Right Revisited. Man, I don't even know where to begin with this one. This clip is loaded with Beastie Boy mischief and comedic cameos. Beastie Boys themselves are portrayed by Seth Rogen, Danny McBride, and Elijah Wood. That is until they come face to face with their time-traveling future selves. Then all of a sudden, Will Ferrell, Jack Black, and John C. Reilly, they're all in the mix. Just as you might expect, a breakdancing competition ensues, and I don't want to spoil the rest of the details. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out.
Boys. No, we're the real Beastie Boys.
And while we're talking about pop culture, let's throw in some media placements and covers. You can catch versions of Fight for Your Right and Look Who's Talking Too, The Simpsons, of course.
Too bad, because my twins are just waking up, dude.
America the Motion Picture, Fun Size, and Glee. Also, a lot of bands have taken a stab at it. Blondie, Alice Cooper, Warrant. Big Country, Madness, The Lemonheads, Pennywise, Kid Rock, Motley Crue, OAR, Darius Rucker, Corey Taylor. Sugar Ray, Train, Coldplay's done it, Hellstorm, and Sammy Hagar. A lot.
You're right to party.
Of course, the Beastie Boys have a long and in-depth history after Fight for Your Right. I mean, after License to Ill and a year of touring, the trio spent some time apart, each pursuing non-Beastie Boy-related projects. Said Yauk, we started getting really sick of each other and sick of being on the road, even almost sick of the band. What the band represented, kind of ashamed to be a part of it, really. We decided to take some time apart from each other and apart from anything having to do with any of that stuff. Beastie Boys were actually really close to calling it quits. A lot of people don't know that. Throwing a label dispute over royalties in their next album, and things only get more complicated from there. Ultimately, however, the trio regrouped for 1989's sophomore set Paul's Boutique, co-produced by the Dust Brothers. The album reached number 14 in the US and featured the singles Hey Ladies and Shadrach.
Just 3 MCs that were on the go. Shadrach and Shag betting to go. All these pop like beasts to a hive. Hey ladies, get funky.
Then in 1992, the Beastie Boys dropped Check Your Head, featuring 5 more singles, classics like So What You Want, 1994's Ill Communication returned the band to #1 in the US and gave them one of their most popular hits, Sabotage. Then after a 4-year wait, they dropped their final 90s studio album, Hello Nasty. Proved to be another US #1. In the new millennium, the Beastie Boys released 3 studio albums, capping things off with 2011's Hot Sauce Committee Part 2. That coincided with Fight for Your Right Revisited, and then sadly with Adam Yauch's fight with cancer, a battle he sadly lost. Adam MCA Yauch passed away at just age 47 on May 4, 2012. Like I said earlier, this is a song that was my jam. It was my anthem as a young kid who, thought he was cooler than he really was. I remember blasting this on my stereo outside while me and my neighborhood friends tried as hard as we could to raise hell in the cow town of Blackfoot, Idaho. We thought we were so cool, so bad. We took some cases of my dad's Diet Pepsi and started throwing them against the street and our driveway and watching them explode. My dad had like 12 cases of Diet Pepsi set aside. And then we pick them up and spray each other, and we thought we were really funny, till my dad pulled up about 15 minutes later and all of his cases of pop were strewn from hell to breakfast. All of us were sticky and sopping wet. Driveway was covered in Diet Pepsi and empty cans. My dad gets out and says, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" My response? "Dad, you gotta fight for your right to party."
You gotta fight!
I know it's cheesy to say that, but yeah, remember, I was like 11 or 12. I thought it was cool. Several minutes later, after I said you gotta fight for your right to party, that right was revoked for about a month, as well as my allowance, to pay for the Pepsi and my license to Ill Cassette. That was confiscated.
For your right to party!
In all, the Beastie Boys have released 8 studio albums, 4 that went to #1 in the US and 1 that went to #2. 6 have been certified platinum or multi-platinum by the RIAA, and their entire catalog has sold between 25 to 30 million records in America alone. Reportedly about 50 million plus copies worldwide, give or take. Which album leads the pack, you ask? License to Ill. Over 10 million copies sold. And I think all this massive success kicked off by a song that the Beastie Boys never wanted to release and was making fun of other party rock anthem songs. You gotta fight for your right to party. An 80s mantra. Leave us a comment about the Beastie Boys and you gotta fight for your right to party. Come on, everybody liked this song if you're an 80s kid. What are your memories of the song? Do you have any memories like mine where you thought you were bad and you really weren't? Share them below. Let's have a great discussion. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.